Hi, welcome to the Peace and Parenting Podcast. I'm Michelle and I have Afra. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Who is going to ask a parenting question about her son who's 6. So tell us, what is your question and let's get into it.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So I have a 6.5-year-old that I am working with to help go through his aggression when he doesn't get his way. And I am struggling to understand how to lean into the tantrums because I don't feel like he has traditional tantrums where it's a lengthy crying it out. They're quick um, moments where he gets really aggressive physically
Mhm.
and he hits or he slaps or he screams or he cusses and then it's done. And so, unfortunately, I don't know if that is him throwing a tantrum and I don't know how to support him through it because in those moments he doesn't even want me near him.
Right.
Which he continues to hit, and even if I'm trying to put a pillow between us, or I'm just like, hey, I'm just not going to talk. He just like, just get away from me. I don't want you near me, and he gets even more physical. Um, so I don't know where to
Okay.
go there.
Okay, great. This is a great question. So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you stay present and you stay with him, it escalates his feelings.
Yes.
So that's what I mean when I say lean into the tantrum.
Mm.
You have to stay with him because your presence
Hmm.
and your attention to him and your connection to him is
Hmm.
going to make him have a tantrum.
Mm. Okay.
And that's likely what he needs. And it scares us because
Hmm.
we see them getting bigger and more aggressive and
Yeah.
more feelings. And so, of course, we're like, fine, I'll be in the kitchen over here and then that tantrum's gonna stop, right?
Hmm.
Because your loving presence makes him feel like, "Oh, it's okay, I can have my feelings now."
Mm.
And so I think what's happening is you're getting to the tantrum and then you're backing off because you see that he's going to have a really big icky feelings and probably kick and hit and whatever it is and be real aggressive.
Hmm. Hmm.
Does that sound
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, that I see that. I guess like I'm confused because he says stuff like, "Why can't you just leave me alone when I ask you to? Like you're not respecting me, not respecting my boundaries." And then I get kind of worried. I'm like, "Well, if I ask him to leave me alone and I really sometimes I want space, unfortunately, that's how I regulate. I want space. He's not going to respect that being like, "Well, I don't really care because you don't leave me alone."
Yeah, okay, well, let's talk about that piece then. Why do you think it is that you want space when you need to regulate?
My childhood. I know this because I actually got praised in front of the other grandkids and kids saying like, "Oh, look, see, whenever Afra is like she was so mature that if she ever was sad, she'd just go behind a door and wait there, and then we didn't have to do anything. And if she came back out, she was done with us."
Okay. So if we know this is the case, if you had to if if you had to do your child if you could do your childhood over again, what ideally would you have wanted when you were having big feelings?
Yeah, probably my mom just being there with me and asking me, "Are you okay?" or "Do you want to?" or just sitting and hugging me. Even
Yeah.
that would have been okay. But I think I realized that no one. I think subconsciously, no one real. I realized no one was there for me, and so I just had to go and settle myself down and come back out and then pretend like everything was okay.
100%. And so that's why you ask your son for space so that you can regulate because that's what
Mhm.
you've learned.
Yeah, yeah,
But what we don't wanna do is teach that to your son.
yeah. Do I want that for him? The same cycle, right?
Right. And so even if he's saying so what I usually find is when kids say, "Leave me alone. Get out of here."
Mhm.
Usually what I find if you do stay and then you ask them at the end, "Did you really want me to go? Was it okay that I stayed?" They'll usually say, "I'm glad that you stayed."
Yeah.
I think what happens is they're scared. They're scared of these big feelings.
Mhm.
They might be scared of these big feelings because they can tell we are scared of the big feelings
Mhm.
and that we back away from the big feelings. And
Mhm.
so they're scared of their own feelings. And they know if they tell you to go away, they
Mhm.
can stuff their feelings.
Yeah.
So I would try an experiment. Try staying one of these times, saying, I know I'll never leave you when you're upset. I'm going to stay right here. Even though he's asking you to leave, I don't know if he necessarily really means it.
Mm,
So I would do an experiment and I would stay all the way through one time to
mhm,
see how it comes out in the end.
mhm. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then just try to keep myself safe as fast as
Yes,
possible.
yes. Now that's the bigger issue, right? We gotta
Yeah,
keep ourselves safe. So it's like,
yeah,
do we get a pillow and do we put that
yeah.
pillow
Mm,
in between us? Do you say, "Push against my hands as hard as you can. Push,
mhm,
push, 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 push." Do you really let him be physical?
mhm,
Do you let him hit the pillow? Do
mhm.
you back up just a couple steps so that you don't get hit?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do to keep do you block his hands if they come at you? Do you block his feet if they
Mm,
come at you?
yeah.
What can you do to keep yourself really as safe as you can? And hopefully, he's 6, and I know no one likes to be hit. No, but I don't want anybody hitting anybody. Of course, none of us do.
Mhm.
But he is 6, and a
Yeah.
six-year-old trying to hit you is a lot different than a 30-year-old trying to hit you, and I think sometimes we get very worried, like, if I let him hit, is he gonna end up a 30-year-old man hitting
Yeah.
women? And I
Yeah.
just don't think there's that through line there. He's dysregulated, he can't manage, and so he's physical because he's in fear.
Okay. Yeah, I try actually not to say a lot because I realize for him, like the more I'm saying, I think I'm just causing more stimulation. So I think I'd probably be there as silently as possible, at least in the start. Then
Yep,
maybe later on just sit in quiet and just show him that I'm here. And then
yep,
later say things like I'm right here for you. Because I think when I would say those that script, he
yep,
got even more annoyed because it would just I mean, not that I don't want it to go through, I want him to finish through with the
yeah.
tantrum, but I don't know, remember then maybe that's leaning into it though, maybe I should irritate him, get it
Well,
out.
I like how you question yourself, and I like that thought process, and I think both things can be true. Like, it can be one that maybe you should say a few things to, like,
Mm,
push him deeper into his feelings,
like I
and
said,
if you do, don't be scared of that.
yeah,
But if
mhm,
you choose to be quiet and just, bear witness to what's happening, I think that's fine too. And I think you can experiment with different things.
mhm, mhm,
Sometimes when I would say to Esme, because she was really had lots of tantrums, I would say to her, "I'm right here. I know this is really hard. You don't know it's hard." But
mm, mhm,
I almost was like, "Oh, if I say I know this is hard and you get that mad,
yeah,
I know there's stuff in there that needs to come out."
yeah,
So I
yeah,
know it's not just me saying, "I'm right here for you." I
yeah,
know she's irritated and agitated and overwhelmed with other feelings, and that
mhm,
maybe me telling her I'm right here is gonna help her get it out even better or even
mhm,
faster.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I think I've been trying to pay attention to the times, like, across the day he's getting irritated by things, like, so I'm like, "Okay, it's starting." I think he's building into, like, just the little talkbacks and, like, a
Mhm.
little bit of that irritation about just things me asking or saying anything. So that's when I know, like, if I can maybe start earlier to connect sooner, then it's not to avoid that big tantrum, but just to slowly build that connection, right, with him before it maybe becomes
I
something.
think Afra too, the other thing is to not avoid the tantrum at all and to actually
Mhm,
think of the tantrum or would-be tantrum
mhm,
as really, really good and important for him.
mm, okay,
And that you don't it it will matter not how much connection you build in.
mm,
He should be having a couple tantrums a day anyway.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we're not trying to avoid that big emotional.
We're actually trying to have
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. And
You're
me
trying to
sitting
lean
there
into it.
yeah, and me sitting there is helping him regulate, like, just not really saying or doing anything much that's helping him?
Well, I think because you're not, responding with any negativity at all, you're not saying, like, "Don't have your feelings." You're also not praising him if he is, shutting his feelings down like your family did.
Mhm, mhm.
You're just bearing witness and you are modeling self-regulation is what you're really doing. You're modeling what it looks like for somebody to be in a hard situation with lots of feelings and lots of aggression and lots of things going on, and you're able to self-regulate, and he's watching you. He's watching you self-regulate, and he's learning what self-regulation is by watching you just stay calm.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. I never really knew, like, what is my job? Like, how am I actually helping? Apart from
Yeah.
not making them feel abandoned, right? I was thinking, like, how am I actually helping them cope?
You're modeling and modeling so social scientists, there's some studies out there that say social scientists have found that 80% of what children learn is what's modeled to them.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
if you model this to him every time he's having feelings,
Mhm.
in 10 years from now when he's 16, he's gonna have so much experience with a self-regulated parent.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
so he'll be able to use that to inform his own self-regulation.
okay. Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
You're Yeah.
A separate part to this is that the whole aspect of now what happens? Like, he went through this aggression, he got his feelings out, and I was waiting. One time, I didn't bring it I just kind of was like, I didn't wanna do this, but, like, I just stayed upset. Not that I ignored him or I didn't take care of him, like, I didn't punish him in that way, but I did want him to see that I'm not okay with the way you treated me. Like, that was still not okay, even though I didn't lecture him, right? I didn't sit
Mm,
there lecturing him, like, "That's not okay, you're not supposed to do that stuff." So I kinda let it just not doing it, and I was kinda waiting for him to bring it up, but I never this happens 2 or 3 times now, he doesn't come back and apologize.
mhm.
And I was like, but that's not a good sign. I thought at some
No,
point he would sit and understand, like, because he knows that's not the standard in the house.
no.
Why did he not come back and feel bad? And that's what worried me, that he thinks this is okay, and mom just is complacent and will just
Right,
keep getting hit, and she doesn't do anything about it. And she just sits
right.
and I don't get in trouble, and so I can keep doing this every time, and all that's gonna happen is and he said a comment too, like, when he hit me, and I kinda turned away, he's like, you're fine," and obviously, probably to lessen his own guilt, he didn't want to feel like he hurt me, but he never came back to check on me, or he never came back and ever said, like, I'm sorry yesterday that happened." He did it once, and then I was like, "Okay, this is working," but then he hasn't done it after that, and I don't know what's going on in his head.
Okay, this is good. I like this. We're getting into a deeper area here, which is really good. Okay, one thing is it could be, I don't know, but it might be something to think about. It could be that because you showed your disappointment,
Hmm,
he can almost be mad at you to some degree because you're not loving him unconditionally.
okay.
You're judging his behavior and you're taking offense to it and you're taking it personally.
Hmm,
And
okay.
if you show that to him by being standoffish, he
Mhm.
can tell.
Yeah,
And so that might prevent him from coming back and apologizing.
okay.
Because I think what we really have to the mindset that we have to take is that it isn't personal. He doesn't want to be hitting you. He isn't premeditated in hitting you.
Mhm.
He's doing it because he's immature, inexperienced. His brain is not formed totally, and he doesn't really know what he's doing in those moments.
Okay.
And so we can't have any disdain for that.
Mm,
It's better if we just come with this idea like he's having a hard time. I'm
yeah,
not going to take it personally and I'm not going to expect an apology. And
yeah,
just because you don't get an apology doesn't mean anything is working or not working.
mm,
Because just like you said, he said, you're fine, because he knows you're not fine.
okay.
And he knows he's responsible for it. And he has a good, kind, conscious heart. And he feels shame and embarrassment and guilt already. And so he's telling you that because he's basically saying, I messed up.
Mhm,
And apologies come in all different forms. Apology can come in a form of him being nice for the rest of the night. Apology can come in the form of him asking you to play with him. Apology can come in the form of all kinds of things for kids. They don't have to come up and just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry I did that, mom."
mm, okay.
And and let him have his process. He's Afra, he's 6.
Yeah,
You have to remember he's 6. He's got 12, though sorry, he's got 22 years
right.
of brain development before he's fully developed. 22 more years.
Wow.
He's a he's a embryo in all of this.
Yeah. Okay. So how I respond is with love. Like just don't even just be like as if nothing happened.
Be as if nothing happened. He knows that he's not supposed to be like that. He
Mhm,
100% knows that because of you guys live in a moral house. So you just have to be neutral about it. I think the more neutral you can come, the
mhm.
more he'll be able to take responsibility.
Okay. I always just get worried about what he's gonna think is acceptable going forward, right? That's always my fear. Like if
Yeah.
he thinks it's okay to treat your family this way, how is he gonna think it's okay to treat even and I think about his future, like how is he gonna think he can treat his wife and whoever else, right? It is around him because he thinks, oh, I'm allowed to treat my family this way because I and I expect them to always give me love back, no matter how I treat them. That's my
Yes.
worry. That's the message I'm giving him.
Well,
Um,
no, I think what the message what that we're giving them is that we are the safest people in their life. Their
mhm,
teacher is not going to be safe. The other adults in their life are not going to be safe. Their friends are not going to be safe, but
mhm,
we are the safest people in their life and they can have their worst, hardest moments with us. But
mhm.
has he ever hit his teacher?
No,
No. Do you think he ever would?
no. I ask him all the time, like, why do you won't do this to your teacher? He's like, no, I wouldn't. I was like, why do you do it to me?
He does it to you because you're safe.
Okay.
Because he knows that you will love him no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where they should have a space to get it out, and
Mhm,
unfortunately, we are that space, but you're not telling him that you think hitting is okay because you're allowing him his feelings.
mhm,
He knows good and well that that is not allowed in your house. He knows good and well that it's not acceptable to hit people. He's just overwhelmed and can't deal.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think about the future too much. So I just need to focus on the modeling, and then it should come. It should come hopefully with the time.
Focus on him at 6 years old being just unable to process his feelings. He's
Mhm.
not always gonna be like it, Afra. He's just not.
Yeah. I'm gonna work on trying to actually maybe irritate a little bit more where I can get his feelings out sooner. So we're dealing with he's just more calm and regulated more often. Um,
More more tantrums will give him more self-regulation.
yeah. Okay. And I guess another part is like, let's say I'm trying my best to model this, but my husband is still a believer in like there has to be some consequences. There has to be not
Yeah,
punishment, but there has to be consequences. How is he gonna know that this is not okay
yeah.
and that kind of mentality, right? And he keeps going back to that, and I don't know how to give him an answer because he hasn't seen the end of it, right? Like where it's still in the middle. How do I do things when he's parenting them one way and I'm parenting them a different way?
Well, that happens all the time, I think, in families. There's always, parents differ in the way in which they parent their kids, even if they're completely on the same page. And your son will know that unfortunately, he's gonna know that you are safer
Mm,
emotionally than his dad. And
mm,
he's probably not gonna have those big feelings with his dad as much as he's gonna have those big feelings with you.
yeah.
And I'd say if you can have the conversation with your husband that does he think that the consequences are working?
Hmm.
Is it keeping him from doing whatever thing that he doesn't want him to do?
I mean, he honestly just like in my face, like our biggest issue is him not having. He has a very dysregulated. He has a his nervous system gets dysregulated when he does screen time. Honestly,
Yeah.
like really any screen time, unfortunately, with him. His brother is actually okay with screen. I think it's just a personality thing. So like he really fights and hides and runs away with my phone. Like even when he doesn't have permission, my phone's open. And that's the hard thing is he runs away with it. And I told him like I'm not about to chase you and yank things out of your hand. Like I don't want to do that, but I'm gonna just follow you around the house. And like sometimes he finds it really funny because I'm just following him aimlessly. Like I don't give up. And he just is like gives up. He's like, can we just sit down and talk about it and have a deal? I was like, okay, we can have a deal. But with his dad, he just sees his dad. His dad give him a look and he runs. He's just fear, or he does
Scared.
it behind his back. For me, he'll do it right in my face and like laugh at me, like
Yeah.
I tricked you, and not really be afraid of me. But then my husband's like, look, see, they walk all over you, like they don't even listen to you. But then my husband, they just run and they're scared because they know that he's gonna
Yeah.
just get really
Yeah.
angry.
So that's it. I guess that's the
Right?
conversation. Do you want your kids to be scared of you or do you not want them to be scared of you? And if they're scared of you now, of just over around a cell phone, and I would put it to them this way, the
Mhm,
safest thing that we can do for our kids is have a safe relationship with them because when the stakes are high and it's not just a kid running away with a cell phone, it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's getting in the car with the drunk driver, it's parties, it's
Mhm,
girlfriends, it's all
mhm,
this stuff
mhm,
that that's when it matters. And you can't just all of a sudden at 16 say, "Oh, now I'm safe." They
mhm,
won't trust that you are safe because you haven't been safe this entire time, and then they're not going to tell you when
mhm,
things are tough or they did the wrong thing or they made a bad decision or they made a mistake.
mhm,
And I
mhm.
think that's the other piece is, like, we really want our kids to believe that they can make mistakes with us, that
Yeah.
they could take the cell phone and we're not gonna lose our minds, that they can
Mhm,
hit and it
mhm,
isn't the end of the world.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's a little bit of a journey, but I just want to know, like, how does that work where the kids they're gonna be confused, right? If
No, well, they're gonna not be confused, but they're gonna be very clear. It's gonna be very clear, Afra, that you are safer. So,
Mhm,
you're gonna get a lot of the bad. You're gonna
yeah,
get a lot of the off track behavior, you're gonna get all the tantrums, you're gonna get the sass, you're gonna get the no's, you're gonna get all of that stuff because your husband isn't allowing it.
mhm, okay. When does the bad behavior stop?
Never. Never, ever, ever, ever. The
In 2 to 3
behavior
years?
is
Do I start
no,
counting?
it's always my daughter's 19. And I mean, she's pretty regulated, but I'll tell you what, she still does the wrong thing.
Yeah.
She still picks a fight with her sister. She's coming home on Wednesday, and Pia said, "Please don't let her come home, mom. Please tell her she can't
Oh,
come home for spring break." I said, "What am I
mhm.
supposed to do? Tell her she has to like go to a hotel?" And she
Oh,
said, "She's gonna get in a fight with me. Just tell her not to be here." And I can already see it's gonna happen. Those 2 are
yeah,
gonna get in a fight. It
yeah,
happens often. And it's just like
yeah.
that's part of being in the family. It's messy.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. No, I know. It's it's a lot, but I
It's a lot.
know I'm just mentally preparing for, like, okay, this is just what it is to be a parent, like, you're there for the good and the bad. You can't just will them into compliance, and that's not who I want them to be. I don't want them I like their strong one. I like that he pushes boundaries and questions, and I'm okay with those things. It's just the aggression and a little bit of, like, the arrogance that I see. I'm like, "Okay, it feels a little like he wants everything his way," right? I'm like, "You can't." I talked to him outside that, like, "Hey, everything we're a family, so everything has to work with what works for everybody. It can't just be just what you want and just what I want either. It has
No,
to."
and I mean, we have to set limits. Sometimes we have to say no. And I guess the other thing when they don't get their way,
Mhm,
quote
mhm,
unquote, I think it's just being okay with them not being okay with it. Like, I think
yeah,
what has happened when we were growing up, probably, I know for me for sure, if I didn't get my own way, I couldn't complain. My parents would
mhm,
have been like, shut up. Like, you're not
mhm,
allowed to complain. You didn't get your own way, like, it's tough. And
yeah.
so I think we believe that kids can't be mad when they don't get their own way, and they really can be.
Yeah, yeah, and that's usually where the tantrums come. It's because he didn't get his way, and then it elicits a big tantrum because I keep saying, "No, no, no," to the phone. He gets more mad, then he gets aggressive. It's
Yeah.
really just around the limit.
Yep, and that's okay. Let
Yeah.
them be mad,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
don't rescind your limit. The limit
mhm,
is the limit, but you can be mad as long as you like. Go right ahead, have your tantrum. I'm gonna
mhm,
be here, but it's still the limit is sticking.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that I've learned 2 things is that leaning to tantrums, I think, will help get those bad feelings out and help him to be a little more regulated, and then maybe sometimes me holding the boundaries I notice better now, not
Mm.
being so permissive. And just sometimes I have moments where I'm like, "I don't really wanna fight this, so he ran with the phone, I'm just gonna let him keep it," you know? Versus there are times where I'm like, don't want him to have my phone, I need it for a purpose and I need it back.
Yeah.
So, when I stick to what I'm saying, he's actually putting up less of a fight because he's like, "Mom's not giving up, she keeps following me, like, she doesn't stop
Yeah.
following me at some point." So I
Yeah.
think it's leading to him respecting the boundary more because he's like,
Yeah.
she's not getting mad about it and all those things.
Yeah, if you're calm about it and you listen to the feelings, it's great. Boundaries are meant we need them. We have
Mhm.
to have them.
So they're
Limits
good
are
for 2
important.
things. It brings out the tantrums and it brings out some
That's
actually
right.
sooner cooperation sometimes, I think.
That's right too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting it, Afra.
Slowly, slowly but
Not
surely.
really. Not really. I see lots of growth.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks everybody for joining us on the Peace and